Welcome to Changing Higher Ed, a podcast dedicated to helping higher education leaders improve their institutions. With your host, Dr. Drumm McNaughton, CEO of The Change Leader, a consultancy that helps higher ed leaders holistically transform their institutions. Learn more at changinghighered.com. And now, here's your host, Drumm McNaughton.
Thank you, David. Our guest today is Cassie Sanchez, Director of Education at the Warrior Scholar Project. For those of you who don't know WSP, it's an amazing nonprofit that equips service members and veterans for success in higher education through transformative programming that advances skills, builds confidence, and forges lasting connections. Cassie oversees all of WSP's curricular activities, including developing, implementing, and evaluating the curricula, plus training academic staff. And she joins us today to talk about WSP and how it can help you grow your veteran population at your institution, a demographic whose population has double the rate of retention and graduation than that of a typical traditional student. Cassie, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
I'm looking forward to our conversation. When we spoke earlier this week, I had never heard anything about the Warrior Scholar Project. Tell us a little bit about you, how you got into it, and what it is. Because, I think it's fascinating. Obviously, I've got a background from the military, and I probably could have used it, but there's a lot of folks out there that you're helping.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the things we're trying to do is make it not quite the well-kept secret that it is. My journey to WSP is fairly straightforward. I had been working at Amherst College when I heard about Warrior Scholar Project. I'd been there for about, 5 years or so in the writing center, teaching writing, and was asked to teach writing to student veterans in this program that was coming to Amherst for the first time in the summer of 2017. And I jumped at the chance, in part because my background in my professional career and in my graduate studies was on access and success to higher education for students from previously underserved populations, and primarily first-gen students, low-income students, and transfer students. And Warrior Scholar Project came to our campus for the first time, and it was just a fabulous program. It was a week-long program in humanities. The students were learning all about democracy, and they were coming to a 4-hour writing workshop with me, which was really exciting as a writing teacher. And I just had such a great time. And in 2020, I finished my dissertation and kind of started a job search, but it was COVID. So that was a slow process. But this position opening for the Director of Education came across my desk, and I leapt at the chance. And it's been just a really fabulous experience and opportunity so far. I've been able to apply pretty much everything that I've learned in my professional career up to this point to this role. Every day is just such an honor to be able to support student veterans on their journeys to higher education.
That's really neat. Tell us about WSP, because to me, it is exactly what most folks that are first-gen students think. It's exactly what those type of folks need.
Yeah, it is. So Warrior Scholar Project, we're a nonprofit organization that focuses on providing access and success in higher education for student veterans, with the idea that student veterans who are exiting the service or about to exit the service or are making a transition, right? They might have exited earlier, but now are ready to go to higher education, that they could really benefit from the support of understanding what higher education is, getting tips and tricks on how to access, how to apply to, and how to succeed in higher education. So we offer 1 and 2 week academic boot camps, we call them, and they are intensive experiences where the students go to one of our partner institutions. We currently have 20 partner institutions, and they spend a week or two on campus. They're living in the dorms, they're eating in the dining halls, they are accessing all of the other aspects of campus that a college student might access. They're being taught by faculty at the campus and also writing staff or researchers on campus. And they engage in some pretty intensive coursework throughout their 1 or 2 week program. And in the end, there's a lot to celebrate because they've done it. It's been rigorous and they feel confident when they're leaving.
Mm-hmm. This reminds me a little bit, I don't know if you knew this, I didn't mention it before and I probably should have. University of Cambridge has a program similar to this, and I had Madeline Atkins on the program from Lucy Cavendish College. They had a goal to enroll 90% of their students from public institutions. And you can just imagine the difference between a public institution and an elite prep school, which is where most of Cambridge and Oxford's students come. Well, they worked with the students as they were going through high school. They brought them in for what they call a bridging program, which was a 1-week intensive, similar to what you do with WSP. And they got the students up to the point where they felt like they belonged there. And that was a critical piece of what they do. My sense is WSP is doing the same kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is a bridge program, essentially, and belonging and developing community and understanding that veterans are coming in with a pretty substantial skill set, which transfers well into higher education. So our boot camps allow the student veterans to be able to see themselves on campus, to be able to see themselves doing the coursework and succeeding, and to be able to develop a community of peers, right, who can support each other along the way. So it really is about belonging. It doesn't even have to be at that particular campus where their boot camp is. Just seeing themselves in higher education is a really important aspect of the program.
Mm-hmm. So with this, you also bring in folks who are getting ready to leave the military as well. It's not just people who have exited, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah. So you bring these folks to campus. It's free to them. They just have to get there.
That's correct. Yeah.
And you're exposing them to the higher education environment and getting them ready. I understand what you mean. They've got a lot of skills to bring, and their job skills are incredible, but more important, their skills for, what's the word I'm looking for? Their job skills, but their stick-to-itiveness, their persistence, right, their grit,
yes,
is well beyond that of most normal students.
Yes, and I think that the students themselves recognize that. And I think the faculty who we work with at our partner institutions really recognize that. Oftentimes the faculty will come back year after year at our partner institutions. They'll remark about how teaching for WSP is one of their favorite teaching experiences. And I think the students' motivation and commitment is really a large part of that. And I felt that as a writing instructor, the first time I was exposed to WSP, my initial thought was, well, who will sit through a 4-hour writing workshop 5 days out of the week? And the answer is student veterans will do that, right? They have a particular commitment and motivation that helps them see through whatever mission, right, or task we lay ahead of them. And so I think they are well suited for the type of programming that we offer, which is rigorous. And I think they get to the end and they realize that those same characteristics that applied in the military can apply in higher education and in the work that they do. And they're able to see that by the end of the week. And I think it's really fabulous.
Mm-hmm. That belonging, that resiliency they have is so critical. What are some of the institutions that you partner with, or who are?
Yeah, so this program actually started at Yale University. So Yale is one of our oldest partners. We also partner with many in the Ivy League. So we partner with Harvard, we partner with Brown. We've also got technical campuses. We're at MIT, we're at Caltech, we're at Stanford this year. And we also partner with some of the smaller liberal arts colleges. So Amherst College, where I was, Williams, Wesleyan, And then we have some larger research universities like the University of Arizona, University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. And this year we have University of Virginia.
Wow, you've got a who's who of institutions. Is there any benefit from an admissions perspective for these students?
Absolutely. We actually offer time for admissions folks to be able to come in and speak with all of our cohorts. I think what it does for the institution is it has that double exposure, right? It exposes the institution to the student veteran as well. So for institutions that may have smaller student veteran populations or may be interested in getting more student veterans to campus, this is a really great program because it shows the institution, here are student veterans, here what they are. In some ways, it does help to maybe break some stereotypes that institutions might have about student veterans. And it gives them the opportunity to let the student veteran population know about those campuses, that they are there, that they are great schools, that they have a lot to offer the student veteran population. So really, it's a great symbiotic relationship, I guess, or a win situation for both the student veteran and the institution.
Do the institutions that you work with, do they give any preference on admissions to the folks that go through your program? Maybe not formally.
Yeah, maybe not formally, right? I mean, what it does do is it provides an opportunity for those relationships to develop. So when the students are at the institution, the admissions folks will come and talk with those students, and that helps open up a relationship that they can have, right? So now they have a face to the name of a person in admissions, and they have their contact information, and they can start developing those relationships. And I do think that some institutions really see the benefit of having student veterans in their student population. And so some are eager to have those students on campus, and we help create those opportunities for those folks to get access to the student veterans.
When we were speaking earlier this week, we chatted about the content focus. You've already mentioned the humanities, the American democracy focus, and analyzing that concept. But you also work in STEM and business as well.
Yes, that's true. So we do have three types of programs. The humanities, we have a STEM program that is focused on physics. It's a physics-based program. And the reasoning behind that focus is that pretty much any STEM major who goes into college is going to need to take a 100 level physics class. And so it does kind of give them a little bit of a leg up because that program also is really intensive. So it kind of mimics what a finals week in college might feel like. It's a lot of information all at once, but I think it's really helpful for folks who are interested in STEM because it shows them what STEM classes are like. We have lectures that are given by faculty at the institution. They engage in a research project and work with a group to be able to do that. And then they present on their research by the end of the week. There's a similar setup for the business and entrepreneurship program. And that one it's a little different from some other business and entrepreneurship programs in that it's not like an incubator program, right? So it's not as if people are coming in with an idea for a business and they learn how to do that. It's, again, more exposing them to what is a week in the life of a business major at college. So again, it gives them the opportunity to take basic level business courses with faculty at the institution, and they too work in a group on a project and present on that at the end of the week. In that program, they often actually present to an outside audience as well.
Do they have an option as to which content focus they do, or is that just by the program, the week it is, et cetera?
They do have an option. So we allow them to select, I think it's 3 institutions within a program that they're really interested in. I think sometimes for some participants, it might just come down to a week that they're available. And so sometimes there are folks who would prefer STEM and go to humanities. We also have 2-week programs. So there are folks who can do a humanities week first and then a STEM or business week second. So that gives them even more exposure to those different areas.
Are the programs generally run during the summers?
All of our academic boot camps run during the summers. Yeah. So from the end of May until the beginning of August. And that's because that's when these institutions have a little bit more time and space and resources available for such programs.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's neat that the veterans who are coming, or the participants, they're exposed to actual faculty who teach perhaps at these universities or at another university and come in. It shows them the level of rigor that's necessary, but it doesn't surprise me as well with the physics. And being a physics major, I've got a little bit of affinity for this. The folks in the military, many of them have highly technical skills, and for them to see what college physics is, I would bet for many of them, it's like a duck in water.
Yeah, I think it is. I think there's always a kind of moment that happens for the students in the program, and that usually is around day 2, where they might think, oh, wow, this is harder than I thought it was going to be, or this is different than I thought it was going to be, or I thought I could do this easily because of the job that I had in the military. And then usually by the 3rd day, it's starting to level out a little bit. And by the end of the week, they've got it down and they're ready to celebrate their accomplishments. But yeah, I do think there is some transition that happens very quickly within our boot camps, where folks realize what they know and what they don't know and what's going to be applicable and what's not. And that there are lots of resources to be able to help them along the way as they make that transition.
Mm-hmm. Do your graduates stay in touch with each other?
They do. They do indeed. So we have a Slack area for our alumni that's fairly active. So a lot of different channels for them.
When you say Slack, you mean the application,
the app.
Not, as in Slack time.
Not in Slack time. That's right. Yeah. Okay. So we have a Slack space for our alumni, and it's just a great space for them to kind of keep in touch with one another. And it's also a great space for us to keep in touch with them. We also offer an alumni conference now. So we are going into our 3rd alumni conference, which we hold at the end of July at one of our partner institutions. Our first one was in 2022 at the University of Chicago. Last year's was at Princeton University, and this year's will be at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. And it's a 2-day conference, and it's a really great opportunity for our alums to come back together to get a little bit more programming. We have conference sessions on all kinds of things related to personal development, professional development, networking, and we have folks from all over who are coming to present to our alumni, and it's a lot of fun. Folks get back together, they see their cohort members, and we just celebrate being the big family that WSP is.
Yeah. How many students have you had go through the program so far?
We've had over 2,200 veterans who we've served through our academic boot camps, and that includes our workshops as well. So in addition to the boot camps, we do about 6 or so one-day college success workshops. These are held at either community colleges or regional colleges around the country, and they do a very abbreviated version of a boot camp that doesn't have academic content to it, but it does focus on college success. So between those, there aren't that many of them, and our boot camps, over 2,200 served.
Mm-hmm. And how many of those, once they go through your boot camp, actually go into college or university?
We are very happy that 92% of our boot camp alums have graduated or are on track to receive a bachelor's degree.
92% of everybody who's gone through the program.
Yes.
That is amazing. That is more than double the typical graduation rate for a, quote, traditional student.
Yes.
Wow. I'm speechless.
It is remarkable. I think that number for me, having worked at Warrior Scholar Project full-time now for several years. I think to me that really is representative of the incredible work that WSP does, the incredible work that our partner institutions do, and the incredible work that the student veterans themselves do, right? We sometimes talk about this sort of WSP alchemy. This thing that happens in these boot camps is a little hard to explain if you've never seen it, but there is a kind of magical feeling to the boot camp where participants are excited to be there. They're really committed. They kind of can't believe that they're in this program that they don't have to pay for, and that they're in this program that's at a really fabulous institution, a place that they may not have ever seen themselves at before. And they're being taught by sometimes really just superstar faculty who are donating their time. And it's all being facilitated also by fellows. And these are alums of our boot camp programs who we hire to come help us run the boot camps during the summer. And so all of that put together just creates a really great environment for the student veteran to feel like they are supported, that there are a bunch of people who really care about their transition and whether or not they go to get a bachelor's degree and complete their degree and are successful professionally and have transitioned well out of service. When all of it comes together like that, it creates such an opportunity for success that I think students are able to leave with that, and it helps propel them forward.
Let's swap horses just a little bit, because you've got to pay for all this kind of stuff.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about who your target donors are from a fundraising perspective, because what you're doing is amazing. You're not taking any governmental funds. I would assume it's mostly individual donors and folks who have gone through the program and are giving back.
Yes, it is. It is amazing, actually. It's generally foundations who we get donations from. The Clark Foundation, the Bob Woodruff Foundation, the Duchossois Family Foundation, the Diana Davis Spencer Foundation. There are a number of them. There are too many just to sit here and name, but that's just a handful of foundations that really believe in the work that we do and fund all of this, in addition to individual contributions as well.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. And if a university or a college wanted to get one of your summer workshops to your campus, how would they do that?
Well, they get in touch with us. They would get in touch with our Chief Programs Officer, Linnea Hiesel, and start up that conversation. Given the size that we are, we do have, there is a scope to the work that we do, right? So we can't be everywhere. But I think that if there is an institution that is really looking to expand their student veteran population, if there is an institution that supports student veterans really well, those are institutions that we're really interested in talking with.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the supports that you look for before rewarding a campus with a 1 or 2 week program?
Yeah, so one of the important things from my perspective as the director of education, and part of my role is ensuring that we have all of the sort of academic pieces in place to be able to run a program. We need buy-in at the institution, and typically that means buy-in from a pretty high level, whether that's a high-level dean or the provost or the president of an institution, because when we have that support from that high level, then it makes all of the work that we do easier, because there are, as you might imagine, multiple pieces to be able to put this together, because it's not just finding faculty and staff to teach. It's also a huge logistical lift for both us and the institution. And so that means, working with summer programming or whatever other department on campus that will help us get there and get dorm rooms and access to the dining hall in the summer and parking and all of those things that we need.
So what are those specific things that, a university would have to have? You just mentioned 3 of them: dorms, parking, and dining.
Yeah, we need classrooms, obviously. We need faculty available during the summer who, if there's, again, that support from a higher level, then asking faculty to teach in this program that has been sort of sanctioned from a higher level, then that makes that relationship building much easier for us. Also institutions, if they have a student veteran center on campus, that's really great, because then we're able to work with those folks in those departments who know a lot about what the student veteran experience in higher education already is. So that makes that relationship easier to maneuver as well. And if they don't, I think a lot of campuses already have the models in place, right? Campuses, they already know all about and how to support first-gen low-income students, transfer students, non-traditional students. And so even if they don't have a large student veteran population on campus yet, I think they do understand what it takes to be able to support students who are non-traditional students.
Oh, these are all great things. Cassie, this has been a fabulous conversation for me. I'm excited. I remember when I got out of the military a long time ago, let's leave it at that. We had a 3-day transition workshop, and it barely prepared you for what you need to do. And now being able to take folks out of the military who many of them enlisted because they didn't have the opportunity to go to college. Now they do with the GI Bill, with tuition assistance if they're still on active duty, and to be able to learn the skills that they're going to need to be successful. This is beyond words. It's just incredible.
Thank you. Yes, I agree. It really is incredible. It's a great opportunity for the students. It's a great opportunity for the institutions. And I think all of us who are in the central staff at WSP just really are able to enjoy the work that we do every day.
So as we always do as we're wrapping up our conversations, 2 questions. First, please give me 3 takeaways for university presidents and boards, things that they've got to know about your program.
Yeah, so the first is to know about the program, I think. And that is that there's lots of information available and that they can access that on our website, warriorscholar.org. And that the program it's put together, it's a fabulous program, and it's ready to go. So really, there's, from the institution's perspective, I know I mentioned the logistical pieces, but generally, it's not a difficult or challenging relationship with us, right? We've been doing this now for 12 years. We know what we're doing, and we're always happy to work with the institutional partners. And so we like to create these relationships that I mentioned are symbiotic, but we've got the packaged pieces already. And I think the third thing, and the most important thing, is that institutions are better off by having student veterans on their campuses, having student veteran perspectives in the classroom, having student veteran exposure to other students so that we know diversity is really great for the institutions. It's really great for the students at those institutions. It's really important that we offer those opportunities for the student veterans to be able to access and be able to succeed in higher education.
Those are great takeaways. Thank you. What's next for you in WSP?
Well, some exciting stuff. I have been working on revising our curricula just a little bit. And one of the reasons that I'm doing that is because we are actually looking and planning to create an on-demand version of what we do. And this on-demand version will be kind of like those one-day workshops that I talked about. So it won't really be content-driven in the sense that it won't really be humanities or STEM or business-focused. It'll be about college success. And it'll be about that transition, that cultural shift that has to take place between the military and higher education. And so we're pretty excited about being able to create a course which we'll offer through Coursera, and that will be able to reach a much even larger population of veterans than we do now.
Great. And hopefully that will serve as a good recruiting tool to get far more than the over 2,000 that you've had go through the program so far.
You got it. That's one of the goals as well.
Very good. Well, Cassie, thanks so much for being on the program. I have thoroughly enjoyed getting to know you and Warrior Scholar Project. I wish you guys all the best, and I look forward to hearing more about you in the coming years.
Great. Thank you, Drumm. It's been my pleasure.
Thanks for listening today, and a special thank you to Cassie Sanchez of the Warrior Scholar Project, and for helping us to better understand how to attract this amazing population to our campuses. Tune in next week when we welcome Tom Netting back to the show. Tom and I will be talking about the latest going on in Washington, including the new Title IX regulations that dropped last week and how they will affect all higher ed institutions. Thanks for listening. See you next week.
Changing Higher Ed is a production of The Change Leader, a consultancy committed to transforming higher ed institutions. Find more information about this topic, along with show notes on this episode at changinghighered.com. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe to the show, and we would also value your honest rating and review. Email any questions, comments, or recommendations for topics or guests to podcast@changinghighered.com. Changing Higher Ed is produced and hosted by Dr. Drumm McNaughton, post-production by David L. White.